There are two very important lenses for us to use when we talk about overshoot, the destruction of the planet. The first is the ecological lens. There is the reality that we live on a finite planet, and there are limits to how much damage can be done to soils, to ecosystems, how much carbon can be emitted into the atmosphere, how much water pollution can be born, how many types of novel entities, chemicals and plastics and so on, can be introduced to the environment before these issues individually and cumulatively all lumped together start to cause dramatic consequences that make the perpetuation of that system impossible. That's the definition of unsustainability. That's a very critical lens. The second lens is the lens of justice, which is the fact that not only is this destruction of the natural world happening, this unsustainable extraction, it's happening in a very unjust way. And it's happening in a way where most of the extraction and most of the harms falls on a relatively smaller number of communities, or it's happening in such a way where most of the impacts in terms of pollution, extraction, and so on are borne by a smaller number of communities, while other communities reap greater part of the rewards, both in terms of profits and the actual material goods themselves that are produced out of this extractivism. What's important and critical to understand about these lenses is that both of them are by themselves enough reason to dismantle the system as it currently exists. That even if we were only living in a situation where there was no injustice, but there was only this unsustainable extraction taking place, that would be enough reason to dismantle this system. It would be an imperative to do so. And the same is true if only the social justice issues were present and ecological overshoot were not an issue. That would be enough reason to fight back, to organize, to resist, to dismantle the status quo of this economic inequality and the destruction of the planet, the dispossession, the organized theft from some communities by others. So these are mutually reinforcing, and it's important to not get too caught up in one of these lenses over the others because they're inextricably linked. It's always been the case that resource extraction and oppression are intimately linked, deliberately so, because you can't exploit and destroy and oppress another community without first coming up with a dehumanizing rhetoric, with some sort of justification for that process. And that's why we have seen, as many historians have argued, that, for example, racism is a product of capitalism, that slavery and the exploitation of human beings was envisioned and created as a system, and then the ideology of racism was built on top of that to help justify it, to make it more sustainable, so to speak, and to help continue and perpetuate it. And the same is true of all kinds of other issues that we're facing in the world today.